few tricks.
Hello!
I miss Overwatch. You might now ask, what do you mean you miss Overwatch? It's still there with the 2 in the title. What I mean is I miss the times when it had a soul and wasn't like a zombie that just wanders aimlessly. You know what Overwatch is by now. It's a game that came out back in 2016. It was a really fun game until it got ruined, got released as Overwatch 2, and ever since then, it's just been this empty husk of what it once was. Last year I expressed my disappointment over the cancellation of the story mode, you know, the only reason for it being called a sequel, but I still kept playing a bit, just so I could get a golden gun for Kiriko, and now about a year later I decided to see if anything has changed. The first time I launched this game again, my friend wished me good luck, as we all know that once I'm done with this video, I'm going to either end myself or end up in the lunatic asylum. Funnily enough, for my first game since installing this game pack, I ended up in Push, which is one of the worst game modes in the game. We were being steamrolled until the server crashed and put me into one of the newer game modes, Flashpoint. This wasn't a good sign after just coming back. A lot has changed since I stopped playing. The hero health pools have been increased, few characters like Sombra and Roadhog have been reworked, Anso doesn't have one shot anymore, so that's one great plus. The hitboxes are bigger, which I'm not too happy about, as if anyone remembers, I'm a Bastion main and he already has a big ass hitbox, so increasing it doesn't help much. Speaking of Bastion, he's still very fun to play. I enjoy shredding people with my tank mode, it's really fun. I also happen to enjoy Sombra as she's a more active hero after the rework, and I noticed that the DPS got a new passive where they now reduce healing on hit, which made me feel dread that instead of fixing the supports for being able to heal too much, they just slapped a band-aid fix. I used to not understand why they don't nerf the supports for being overtuned, but then it hit me. They're not nerfing them as to not to piss off the only people remaining who won't spend money on their shop. Now, I won't blame them as I'm kind of guilty of this too. I bought the Invasion bundle which came with some robot skins, battle pass and guarded remains of the PvE missions. Now why would I buy such an overpriced bundle? Well, I wanted to get the missions because I at least wanted to try out what could have been of the story mode, and I don't know, probably not because Kiriko had a robot skin and they didn't just buy it because robot women are cute. Of course not. But what I find really fun is that they're charging full price on reskins of some older skins and they got new currency for the mythic skins. They're way too expensive, so I don't recommend buying any of them or even the missions. Speaking of the missions, there were 3 in the bundle and the first time playing them they were pretty neat, but they got stale after that as the higher difficulties just increased their health and damage. They were marketed as to be highly replayable, but that was a big ass lie and I do not recommend buying them. What was even more funny was that they then decided to cancel the rest of the missions, so the story ended up in a massive cliffhanger. We won't know what happens to Zenyatta as Reaper and Widowmaker went after him, and we will not know the purpose of the weird helmet for the robots, that's just even more crappy. A lot of the charm is just missing from this game, like the cards at the end of the match are still missing, the player board hasn't come back, so if you don't have a battle pass there's kind of no reason to even play. I will be inclined to at least play every now and then if I could even have some kind of cosmetic upgrade to my profile, but I guess Blizzard doesn't want poor people to play their game. So what about the gameplay? Well, unfortunately 5v5 still doesn't work. Tanks are very miserable to play as you're the main target of every fight. You have all these cool movement options but can't utilize them as you can leave your team alone. If you do too well, the enemy team will just hard counter you and force you to play a different hero, and if your team loses, you will always be blamed for it. This does make me slightly sad as I am an ex-tank player, and when I did play Overwatch last year, I did enjoy playing tank every now and then, especially as Winston and Ramatra, but knowing this is the tank experience now, I'll just stick with DPS and support. But hey, the comp system got changed back to what it used to be. Too bad I am not playing it. There's also a new reskin you can buy with comp points called Jade. Green is my favorite color, but to be honest, I don't really think offering only green as a reward isn't exactly the best idea as it clashes with many of the skins, and probably something like a diamond reskin would have been a better source for a reward. Now if those weren't bad enough, there have been some other unfortunately bad changes. If you leave quick play, you can get a matchmaking penalty. Why does the game penalize you for leaving an unranked game? But if you get a phone call during a game and have to leave for it, or if you drank too much coffee and had to take a piss. I don't want to schedule time in my calendar to be able to play this game, and I don't want to treat this game like it's some appointment. The reporting system is also very bad. You can get banned or muted for saying the most innocent stuff possible. Like, people don't really talk anymore due to fear of being banned, there's no banter or shit talking. But when people do choose to talk, it's just them being toxic. So if you banter with someone and that offends some other person, you might get banned for it, but it doesn't scare people enough to not be assholes. I don't really understand the logic behind this system. Please tell me that I'm wrong regarding this, as it doesn't really make sense. It just appears that everyone who still plays this game is just miserable. DPS players have massive egos who complain when they aren't healed 24/7, support players think they're always right and complain when DPS don't deal enough damage, and tank players just want to kill themselves. This is not the game I fell in love with, and frankly, it hasn't been for years. The dev team is just too prideful to acknowledge what should be changed, and because of it, we are here. 5v5 is a mess, tanks aren't fun to play, DPS don't have enough presence, and support killed Overwatch 1 and probably will kill this game as well, because the devs refuse to balance their kits and not be able to do everything that DPS can, but better. Last year I mentioned I would be interested in making a video on Bastion, but I did cancel it because the game just wasn't fun to really justify a video. The game is just a mess, and frankly, what is there left to be excited about anymore? The story mode and PvE got cancelled. The last cinematic at the time of the writing the script was 10 months ago. There are no comics or some animated series to finish the story. Most heroes that get released are fairly unhealthy and introduce a lot of power creep, and push is still in the game. The only thing that's being updated is the shop, and they do a pretty mediocre job at that too with the fully priced reskins. Does Overwatch have any future of being something more than used as dress-up simulator with awful gameplay? Time will tell. Maybe I might get motivated enough to play the game and do a Bastion video, especially when there's that Transformers crossover coming, and I do enjoy that franchise, but at the time of making this video, I have lost hope. For those who wanted a PvE game, I would recommend trying out Deep Rock Galactic. It's seriously one of the most fun I've had in a game, and if you want a fun FPS team shooter, just play Team Fortress 2, especially now when the majority of the bots got banned. I am not saying this just because I'm some TF2 elitist, but because TF2 is just more fun. You have a much bigger impact there as an individual, and you especially don't run into the problem of Medic being able to out DPS someone like Heavy, that's for sure. But to summarize this all up, I miss Overwatch, the game that had a spark of life and an exciting future, a game that oozed with so much personality and fun gameplay. There really isn't a game like Overwatch, a game with a talking gorilla, a robot with a cute pet bird, or a monk who will throw his balls in your face. Overwatch isn't dead, but it sure isn't alive. It's an undead husk that just wanders aimlessly around, occasionally giving some signs that it might have some kind of conscience left, but really it was just an illusion. Rest in peace, Overwatch. I miss you very much.
Ha ha ha!